the added values actually required here by an information technology equipment up to date is actually the compatibility concern. Mainly we talk about the compatibility concern. So whenever we talk an up-to-date technology, so we talk about compatibility concerns. So the information systems and the services delivered in a digital environment, they are for sure matching the up-to-date technologies. So they are matching the up-to-date software technology. Thus, the hardware technologies have to be up to date in order to fulfill the compatibility requirements, mainly. We may talk about other concerns, but the main added value is that it would be helping delivering the service in their best status. We keep going on, and if you have any concerns, you may interrupt. Talking about the information technology emerging, the technologies. Yeah, actually, this is where we were discussing last time. We said that the internet usage, it is related to the number of users, and the law that actually governs the use of the internet says that if the number of users increases, the cost of the use is being diminished. So the decline of cost is exponential to the increase of the number of users. Increase of users means decreasing cost. And upon time, the number of users is increasing gradually. Thus, by time also, the cost of the internet use is decreasing gradually. Metcalfe's law. Okay, the infrastructure components, actually, they are here subdivided and put to us in front of us into 7 groups. Yes, according to the book description here, it is validated, but we may find different views in another reference. The 7 groups here, they are the very main components building an infrastructure. If we find the other components, they are to be subgroups, but not main like what we are seeing in front of us. Computer hardware, actually, you talk about the desk itself, the case itself, the equipment we need for doing the hardware we need to do or to accomplish a task. A printer, a scanner, whatever, any device that you can need to accomplish a task. Computer hardware comes after the operating system on top of that, gradually. On top of the hardware, on top of the case, we install the system software, which is the operating system. On top of that, the software applications, which are the servicing utilities. Whatever you're going to use as a software application, they come on top of the operating system. Then, the media, the data itself, how to manage it, how to store it. The managing utilities, the data managing utilities, let's say. And here we talk about storing and manipulating. Not only storing and manipulating is the in-out flow. Equipment responsible for remote communications, the networking and the telecommunications solutions. Specifically, we talk about the internet, also other hardware, as a component that we needed, because having a remote connection does not mean that you have an access to the www services. No, this is something different completely. The system integration actually services. Talk about the help or assistance, remote help, and things like that. Consultation. Okay, those are the the equipment, actually, we may talk about the ecosystem that makes the infrastructure. Those are the 7 components. Actually, they are the same, what we were discussing, the examples. Okay, starting with the computer hardware, they are actually the equipment, the hard equipment that we may find in order to achieve the use of the soft applications at the end of the day to manipulate our forms and our contents, our services. I mean the business owner content. All the hardware, you know, all without exception. Here, computer hardware, mainly we talk about the CPU and the case and the desktop and things like that. But a laptop also is a computer hardware. A mainframe is a computer hardware. A PC, personal computer to use at home, it's a hardware, things like that. Along with this technology, we have to consider the category of the CPU to use because this is one of the influencers of the hardware. The chip used for creating a processor, the manufacturer, the brand that is used to, yes, to create the processor, the CPU. Actually, usually whenever you buy a new computer, you'll find a sticker, a small sticker on the external body, either it is a laptop or a desktop or something like that, mention something like this, either Intel or AMD, something like that. Actually, they are the brands or the manufacturers of the CPU you are using. The hardware actually has to be manipulated and controlled using an operating system. The operating system comes on top of the hardware, means you have to have the hardware, the computer hardware, on top of which you have to install and configure the operating system, which is a system software. The operating system is in the group of system software, and this operating system has the role of control and manipulation of the commands from the user to the hardware and the vice versa, responses or let's say requests or something like that, from the hardware to the user. It is the layer that comes in between the hardware and the front end, because the front end not usually direct connection with the user because there might be software application. We'll see it right now. So operating system, it is utility. It is a software that comes on top of the hardware. It is a system software. Those operating systems, they are segregated into 2 parts, whether they are servers. Server means a controller, administrator, let's say server, operating system server, or they are a client, which is actually a simple operating system you use for your own laptop or for your own computer. The server is to do administration tasks. The client is to give you services to use or things like that for your personal activity, even for professional activities, but production activities, not administration activities. The administration is the role of the server operating system. Yeah. amongst the specific, let's say, operating system that can be found at this same level on top of the hardware, the middleware. It is a software, also, it is a software, but it comes on top of the hardware to do specific tasks that needs specific equipment to control, a specific hardware to run, to operate. Those are named middleware. They come in between. They do not need the operating system exactly. They directly communicate with the hardware with some extra functionalities to communicate with the system software or the software applications, or immediately with an interface to communicate with the end user. Thus, they are given the name middleware. The data manipulation here, it's a matter of storing, inserting, retrieving, modification, all the activities that we can do to manipulate the data. There are brands and trends to use because for a big organization, a computer is not the best place where to store the data. No, there has to be a central place where the organization data is stored. Means if you are working in an organization with a big number of devices and let's say members, your computer will be only visualizing the data. There has to be a place, a remote place where your data is stored. And thus we talk about, remote access or something like that. There is a mechanism via which data is stored. Now we talk about devices for storage and mechanism how to store. Devices, any hard external hard space, actually software space used for there are so many and numerous used for storage. And what it concerns the mechanism of storage, we talk there are scenarios how to store the SAN, so storage area networks, scenarios via which data is stored and retrieved. As per this example here, the SAN storage area network, it's a space inside the network, not the computer. It is, let's say it's a room with, let's say, 10 servers, and they are all given the capability or the role to store data. So this area inside the network is used for storage only. The SAN is a mechanism, it's an architecture via which we specify how data is stored and retrieved from within the network in question, the workspace. What is it? It is to allocate a space inside the network. I will insist here. It is inside the network only, used for storage. Given, for example, a room. If you remember very well our building number 8, there is a small room in between the room 84 and room 83. There is small room. It is the storage area network in our campus. It's a dedicated room with dedicated devices to store data, no more, no less. SAN. Communications and let's say remote access to services and remote delivery of services needs remote, let's say, channels to help us. The technology used here, we can use the telecommunication available channels. Yes, we can use the telecommunication available networks like the telephony network. Yeah, absolutely, we can use, we can adopt. We can use dedicated networks. We can use local networks. We can use private and very private networks in remote mode, all are being available nowadays to be used for communicating data. This is under the category of networking. Networking is a verb to generate a network and help terminals communicate. Then we talk about networking. There have to be terminals, means computers, devices with their own hardware and software, system software and application software to communicate. The platform in between, which is the telecommunication company, for example, the telephony network, or any other similar network that helps to share data. What it comes to here, the internet platform, when we talk about the internet, to differentiate it from the telecommunication network, is that we are going to talk about services differently, no more or less, but still we are talking about the same platform, which is the network and telecommunication platform, yet services, they are completely different. We are delivering the www services mainly, which is the web services. We are talking about the web services, which are websites hosted somewhere in web servers. Web services, service, hosted in a web server, web servers in plural. So this is the context of the internet. So to deliver web www services over the physical infrastructure, which is the internet. I'm sorry. There are numerous services that you can find in this regard, in this concern. Okay, the integration of services here, which is the consultant services mainly. There are also a huge number of consulting companies that can be actually being referred to have a consultation. It depends on the company in question or the service in question and things like that. And this consultation and this concern of consultant and technical assistance integration services is due to is being found due to its complexity and high cost whenever we talk about large companies. Thus, they are available for use or for refer or reference whenever needed only. Thus, the company owners and let's say the administrators will pay for the service only when needed and when used only. They would not actually pay extra money for nothing. Consultation for help, for assistance, for guidance to be provided by providers. And providers, there are so many actually brands and providers you can refer to. They are actually, as per title of example here only. It's not limited to. Yeah. Beside of all of this, the technology and the information technology infrastructure, it is not limited to computerized on-desk activities and on-desk devices only, because we can see mobile devices being dominating the market nowadays. Nowadays, the mobile devices, they are dominating the market. So the mobile telephony, the mobile servicing activities, they are also one of the concerns of the infrastructure. Services that they do not have actually compatibility with the mobile devices. Nowadays, they are not the best and the most successful services. All the smart equipment that we know nowadays, they are in question to be adapted and to be compatible with digital services also that we receive today. All the mobile devices that we use depends on the type of the service. Mobiles, they are compatible because we can compare. See here what I'm gonna make you understand: the Kindle from Amazon and the let's say the whatever web surfing, simple web surfing. We can use any mobile device without restriction. All of them, they can help web surfing. Yet the Kindle, you need to have, let's say something, it's from Apple only to run such an application. So we would have actually some dedicated applications to run on dedicated mobile devices, or we can have services that run on all. This is what we have to concern. Other than that, services have to tackle and to attack and to target mobile devices to be as successful as much as it can be. Without targeting the mobile frameworks, services, they are not in the best status. Okay, it is actually a case study that you need to read it from your book only. If you have any questions at this level, please. Okay, continue. The bring your own device is actually one of the concerns whenever you talk about a company or a workspace infrastructure. Why? Because we take the example of University of Nizwa here. You as students, when you bring your own mobile device, will you be given the access to the internet using the University of Nizwa network? The answer is yes. Okay, you are connected to the University of Nizwa local network, then you are given access to the internet. Are you bringing a secure mobile? Majority of you do not know if it is secured or not, if your mobile device have a virus or not. This is a concern of the company. So the company will allow you to access the services using your own device. So services also has to allow heterogeneous devices to connect and to get services. This is what we name it, bring your own device to connect to the service in question within the workplace. Your device is with you, but to use it to connect to the services within what? Within the workplace. Consumerization, actually, of IT, it's a concern of, yes, to rethink, to deliver, to design services according to the request of the customers, consumers. Consumerization of IT is to customize the services upon the consumers. Exactly, consumerization. Okay, we were talking about the computer hardware, and we presented that there are chips used to generate the main important components, which is the CPU or the processor. We presented the AMD and the Intel. Here, the architecture via which those chips and those processes are made, also they are different, and those differences make differences in quality of production of those processors. The available, let's say, quality or qualitative, let's say, type of processors available in the market and commercialized right now, they're not unique, but the most commercialized, they are the ones with the multi-core processors. Means we find a chip with more than one core. Here, we talk about the quantity of data to be manipulated at the same time, quantum computing. Quantity of data processed at the same time. We talk about increasing speed because of the number or the quantity of the data processed at the end of the day. So the computer is much more faster. Why? Because of the processor capability. The processor has many cores to execute more data at the same time, so more fast. Another concern of the hardware and the infrastructure only specifically, which is the virtualization. The virtualization here is a scenario of mimicking the real physical resources without having a hardware. So you have only one device, but you generate a virtual copy of that device, maybe 2, 3, 4, n copies, depends on the device you have. So it is only one single device, but with virtual copies. Exactly, you will have multiple instances, means many computers, with one single physical device. Many computers, but one single physical device. Remember this definition. We are saying that actually cloud computing is one of the enhancements and one of the advancements that we can refer to in order to deliver services, because we presented the enterprise network. You remember last unit, and we said that this enterprise network, it is set to deliver services upon the need of the company in question. But what about if we're delivering services remotely? What about if the users, they are actually numerous and the service cannot be delivered at the same time? What about if the company is needing the service to be very fast? What about if the server where the service is fails? All of those, they are concerns to be solved. To solve all of what we just said right now, we can use the type of the network, which is the cloud network, so cloud computing type of processing, via which those sorts of issues, they are being solved. Cloud computing is a sort of creating a computerized network with different services to ameliorate the service delivery. We can find different services on the cloud. Amongst of them, we can deliver infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure, the hardware means computers, processors, storage devices, and things like that. We may talk about platform as a service or platforms as a service. Means operating systems, middleware, even sometimes, yes, that's it. We can talk about software as a service. The paid software, instead of paying for a software and getting the full software with a huge money, you can pay only for your use. You do not install anything, and you use the service online on the cloud. Software as a service. In all cases, there are features and services to use on the cloud to ameliorate the quality of service. Full stop. There are types of cloud computing. There are types of cloud. Either we are talking about a public cloud, everybody can use, or we talk about private cloud. Private cloud means only dedicated company members can use. Only private, very private. Literally said here private. Or we talk about hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud means there's a mixture of both. Some parts are public and some others they are private. So it's a hybrid cloud. Yeah, cloud computing is at the end of the day, it's a network, no more, no less. Green computing is a context via which we ameliorate, or company owners ameliorate the use of the electricity. The power consumption is going to be ameliorated. So they do a scenario or a policy via which they use the infrastructure in a way they reduce the power consumption. Thus, we talk about green computing. Green computing. And at the same regard here, the green computing, it can be enhanced by using the power-saving processor, the CPUs, that they do very fast tasks with less power. The green computer can be enhanced by those types of processors, CPUs. When we talk about the software applications, and even the system software, not only the software applications, there are types. Either we talk about the copies that they have to be paid to be licensed, or the free and the open source. What does it mean? Means the Windows 10, to use in your computer, for example, you have to pay money. Yeah, it is licensed. And once you buy it in your computer, you cannot modify it. You cannot change the behavior of the operating system. No, it is genuine and licensed. Yet, there are other operating systems which they are open source. Well, it means once you get it, once you install it, you can, if you have the intellectual capability, you can modify its behavior by enabling and disabling functions accordingly, however you like. Examples of open source operating systems: the Linux, Android for mobile devices, and there are numerous open source operating systems. Okay, for the web, for the www environment, there are technologies that they are actually enhancing the service delivery. Programming languages, examples: Java. Java can be utilized to generate classes and functions to run to serve customers, login or registration or search or course selection, or things like that. Java can be utilized to do so. To create a full website or a full web page, HTML can be utilized, hypertext markup language can be utilized to generate a full, let's say, web page or full website completely. There are versions of the HTML, the newly set up HTML5. Why it is the latest? Because it is delivering much more functions with less code, Good. And there are those are actually examples only. There are very long list of web-based programming languages. Ruby and Python, they are also other programming languages that can be utilized to generate web solutions. Each is for a different target. For example, if we want to communicate a mobile application to a web application, for example, you are going to communicate a game that you can run on your mobile with the web server. There have to be a service to interconnect those two. We talk about web services. As if we are going to help, let's say, an application that run using the C++ to communicate with an application that run using the HTML. They are completely different. But how to help them communicate? Using a web service. So the web service, at the end of the day, it's a service to exchange information in between web solutions. Amongst the solutions that can be utilized, or technologies can be utilized to generate web services, the XML, extensible markup language, extensible or extended markup language. It's a sort of HTML-like. It seems to be like HTML, but it is utilized to generate or to create web services. Okay, I'll stop at this level. We are almost about to finish this unit. So I'm going to take the attendance. Any questions, please?